Hi, everyone, and welcome to the second in my interviewing series. Today, I'm excited to be joined by Hannah Beko, who is going to talk to us all about her new book. Hello, Hannah.
Hello, Sonny. It's great to be here for your second episode. Very exciting. An
Thank
honour.
you. Well, it's an honor to be speaking to you as well, because I'm sure a lot of viewers know who you are already. And obviously, I've interviewed you before as well for Surrey JLD, the video for which is also on my YouTube channel. But for anyone who somehow doesn't know who you are, if you can tell us a bit of background about you and your journey to where you are today.
Do you know, it gets harder and harder to answer that question because it's like, how far do I go back? Decided to be a lawyer when I was 13, because we've been talking about this a lot recently at home because my son is 12 now and he's at
Mm,
high school, and you get this whole, how much do you push them to do well in their exams and how much do you leave them
yeah.
be? So my husband and I have this conversation a lot, and I'm like, I wouldn't really want to do to my kids what happened to me,
Mm.
which was from a very young age, you've got to do well at school. It impacts your whole future. Like it's life or death if you don't do well. Sorry, I do realise this is not the question you asked, but I'll get to it really quickly.
That's all
Um,
right.
so yeah, I was about 13 when I decided I wanted to be a lawyer, because my parents told me one year that we couldn't afford to go on holiday that year because we'd just moved house, and they said we can't afford to go on holiday, and I was like, damned if I'm ever going to be able to say I can't afford to go on holiday, so I must get a good job. Um, so that's how I ended up as a lawyer, because I didn't want to be a doctor. That seemed a bit too messy and things for me. So I ended up as a lawyer, and it was that simple. That's why it happened. Um, did the traditional lawyer thing. I was lucky enough to get a training contract when I was still at university. So I trained with which was Beechcroft Wandsboroughs, is now
Mm.
DAC Beechcroft for anybody else out there. Fantastic place to fantastic firm to train at. I loved it. Really nice people. Stayed there for another year or so, and then moved over to Eversheds to do property. So I'm a commercial property lawyer. Done that for about 16 years, and I left. So I've left or nearly left the career quite a number of times. I left in 2011 when my first son was 18 months old. So I've got
Mm.
three boys now. Teddy was just 18 months old, and I didn't want to do the commute. I didn't want to do the hours. I didn't want to do the stress. My blood pressure was just through the roof by the time I got back to the nursery, and he was the last baby on the doorstep. Looking back, I actually was probably wanting to get out of there, but having a child gave me an excuse.
Mm.
I look back now, and that's what it was. It was an excuse rather than a reason. So I got out, not knowing what I was going to do, did want to set up my own business, um, and then found myself self-employed as a lawyer, because I did dabble with some other business ideas, but you can earn quite a lot as a lawyer. So
Yeah.
ended up self-employed as a lawyer by 2012, and done that ever since. So 10 years just gone, I've been self-employed.
Mm.
That was my first, I suppose, successful business, if you like. And then started training and coaching lawyers about 6 years ago. 2016 it was,
Mm.
almost, yeah,
Yes.
July 2016 I did my first ever presentation, and started down that journey as well.
So very busy.
Yeah.
Actually, quite refreshing to hear your journey into law, because a lot of the time you hear, I wanted to be a lawyer since I was 5 years old. So just to hear someone say, well, I wanted to go on holiday and I didn't want to be a doctor. So lawyer it is.
It was that simple. That's how much thought process went into it. Wanted a clean desk and a briefcase and a suit. And that's what I
That
got.
makes sense.
Yeah.
And of course, you mentioned that you're a commercial property solicitor now. Something that I didn't know about you, which I found out from reading the initial draft, which I was so lucky to read, was that you were a litigator at one point. And
Yes.
I won't give anything away, but I will certainly be taking on your advice about how to deal with opponents. That was brilliant. So that's a little thing for people to look forward to when they pick up your book.
Thank you. That's yes. I was a litigator for 2 years, really.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So a fair bit of time. Obviously, in your time as a lawyer, probably doesn't seem that significant, but
No, it doesn't. And I always knew I was going to go into property. It was just
Mm,
at the time I qualified, that's where there was a position, and I'd enjoyed it, and it was a really nice team. So
mm,
I did it, and I'm actually glad I did, even just for the fact that I can give other people the advice when they
mm.
panic about what shall I qualify into, and either I don't know exactly what I want to do, or there's no jobs in exactly what I want to do. I always say to them, there's no harm in doing a year or two of something else. I
Yeah.
really did no harm at all.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely gives you experience, and rather than just waiting for the perfect opportunity, you're still
Yeah,
working.
yeah.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. Although I was lucky to start off in the area I wanted, and I'm sticking with that. So, but obviously, it doesn't happen like that for everyone.
No, no. We're very the law is very conditioned into you thinking there's one path, and I know
Mm,
things are changing with the SQE and all different qualification routes, which is brilliant. But people still panic, and they did in the pandemic. I mean, you know, that's how we met in one of the groups in the
yes.
pandemic. People panic when that course looks at risk, or they might not be able to do the normal course.
Yeah.
But actually, it doesn't matter. It is a very versatile career like that.
Yeah.
It won't matter in the scheme of things.
Yeah. Completely agree. So, to obviously, we digress a little bit, but to talk more about the book, that's what we're here for. What's it called?
It's called The Authentic Lawyer: How to Create More Success in Your Practice and Balance in Your Life.
So, why the authentic lawyer? What made you pick that name?
It's got twofold, really. So my business is called Authentically Speaking, and has been since I started it 6 years ago. Much to my then business coach's dismay, they really didn't like that name. They wanted me to call it, coaching lawyers or something, does what it says on the tin. And
Yeah.
they did have a point, but that sometimes I dig my heels in, even when I'm paying business coaches. I'm like, actually, I take what you're saying, but I'm going to go with my gut instinct.
Yeah.
Um, so authenticity and authentic, I know it's a buzzword now and everybody's using it, but I stick with it. And a lot of people who know me and know the business say that they totally get it, because that's what you get. Um, so the title, The Authentic Lawyer, is twofold. It's one, about me. It's about my journey, and you've seen that in some of the book if you've read it. My journey from being the character of the lawyer, with the suit and the title and all the
Yeah.
things that I thought a lawyer was, which actually just made me quite unhappy. Through to, I mean, what one lady who knew me a few years ago called me the lawyer with pink nails. And even that, it's just so interesting. And you've probably heard me say this story before. I've had the same nail lady for about 8 years.
Oh wow.
Uh, in fact, my son is 8, so I know
Yeah.
it's just under 8 years since I've had the same lady. And when we first met, it was always the same dark, normal lawyer colours that I would have all the
Mm,
time. And it took me years to go gradually up and up and up to, having bright pink sometimes. And I think it's a metaphor almost for how my journey's changed,
yeah.
from what I thought I had to be to actually bringing in who I really am. And
Mm,
and in business, so yes, in my legal business, but also in my other businesses as well, that's always been a good thing. It's always been a great thing for business to become more and more who I am, and less who I thought I should be. So
mm,
that's the part about me. But what I realized along that journey is that it's the same for so many other lawyers, and that's why I train on authenticity, and being brave enough to find themselves,
yeah.
because that's where I think lawyers' real power is, because we're not all the same. And if we're
Mm,
all the same, how do we ever stand out? How do we stand out to our clients? How do we stand out in our firms to get promoted
yeah.
if we're all the same? It's only bringing in who we authentically are that's going to make a difference. And not only that, so it's going to be good for our career, but for your mental health, it's so much better.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
to stop trying to be somebody else, because it's flipping exhausting trying to be somebody else,
Yeah.
and to actually allow yourself to be you
Yeah.
is so much better for you as well.
Yeah. I
That's
completely
that's
agree.
the journey of the book, my journey, but also taking other lawyers who read the book on that journey with me,
Yeah.
to hopefully decide this is a good thing, and I'm going to let go of some of what I think I should be and be more of who I am.
I really love that. That's so nice. That's such a nice message. And what you say about the pink nails, actually, I grew up in the era of Legally Blonde. So for me, that was the inspiration. And I was there doing my LPC with pink fluffy pens, whilst everyone else is suited with a fountain pen. So I think I've always had that notion of just being different. So now I just sort of roll with it.
Yeah, 100%. And it doesn't have to be pink for other people who are listening going, I
Yeah.
hate pink. It also happened, it was obviously now we've sort of had two Christmases in lockdown, but the
Yeah.
first Christmas in lockdown, I was on a big corporate deal at the time, and they organised a Zoom right in the middle of Christmas week when you've got loads of Christmas Zooms going on.
Mm.
So I had my Christmas jumper on because I had at least two Christmas Zooms that day. And then they called us into this big corporate meeting with, 8 corporate lawyers, all men apart from me. And
Mm.
they all come on the screen and they've all got their plain white backgrounds and they're all sat there
Yeah.
in their shirts, if not whole suits, but shirts. And then I come on the camera with our Christmas decorations hanging in the background and my bright red, like reindeer jumper on. It was hilarious. And do you know what? Years ago, I'd have been mortified and I thought, oh, it doesn't look very professional. What must they
Yeah.
all think of me? I just found it hilarious. And then the property guy phoned me straight after the call and just said, loved your jumper, by the way. you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that actually reminds me of the Surrey JLD Christmas party just gone. I think I was the only one working from home, so I could come in my own clothes. Everyone else was there with office clothes, and I wore a Christmas jumper because I have about 5 or 6 of them anyway. And you can see in all the photos, everyone's in office outfits, and there's me, Christmas jumpered up, Doc Martens, just completely different. But I'm the wellness rep, so I suppose that's okay.
Oh, that's brilliant. I love that.
Anyway, I love how we always digress. We've got so much to talk about that we just sort of go off topic, which is
I'll
brilliant.
try and stay on track.
So back to the book. What was it that made you write the book?
As I think it says at the beginning of the book, there was one moment when I decided I was going to write the book. Didn't necessarily know what it was going to be called or even what was going to be in it at the time, but I was driving home. I remember even the road I was driving down, just in our village as you come in, and I was driving down there, and I was in the height of chronic stress. It was probably one of my worst weeks when I'd hit chronic stress. And as I think you can read in the book as well, and I've talked about in other interviews and things, I was under what I now know is chronic stress because I had all the symptoms, and then it's often just one more thing that tips you over the edge. And for me, it was my dad had been diagnosed with cancer the Friday before, I think. So I'd got the call, dad had said this is what had happened, and we had to wait a couple of weeks before we had the results to know what we were looking at and what we were dealing with.
Yeah.
And that on top of everything else, I just couldn't cope with it.
Mm.
So I'd started to have panic attacks and things like that. So I was driving down this road coming home, fighting off this panic attack, and just in that moment I decided, I'm going to write about this, and this is going to be a good thing. I remember repeating to myself in my head, this is going to be a good thing. I'm going to be glad this happened while I'm sort of struggling to breathe. It's like, this is a good thing, and I'm going to write about this, and I'm going to make this sort of thing more accessible and more talked about, and I'm going to help other people in that situation. So that was the moment I decided to write it.
Wow, that's amazing that, in that moment of heightened stress, you could still sort of think positively, like this is going to be a good thing, this is what I'm going to do, because it's so easy, just to completely be negative, especially when you're dealing with family illness. It's completely understandable. So yeah, it was very commendable what you did.
Well, I think it's just I wouldn't always have approached it like that. I don't know whether I'd maybe already started on a bit of that journey, perhaps already. I know I had, looking back now, when I had my second son, I did hypnobirthing, which that sounds slightly off topic, but there's a lot of meditation. And as you know, I'm a huge fan of meditation. And I suppose my real first introduction to it was when I had my second son, which was, I suppose, a few years before that, two or so years before that. So I think already doing that level of meditation, it does change your, this because I know you're a fan, it does change your brain and it changes your thinking pattern. It does help you to be less negative and to be more positive and to look for the positives even in a really bad situation. And that's what I learned. So even then when I was struggling with it all, I just remember saying, this is going to be a good thing. This is going to be a good thing. And just kept, and that's what I created. I created the
Yeah.
fact that it was going to be a good thing because I kept saying, I know that what I'm going through is horrible, but it's going to be for the best. And it's going to
Mm.
be, I'm going to make something good out of this.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's like you say, that's one thing that I try to do as well, is I force myself to look at the gift in the situation, especially, when it's like really bad. For me, it was during the pandemic, I couldn't see my grandparents as much, and they're like my parents to me. I'm so close with them. And then they both got ill as well last year. And, I almost thought I was going to lose them. Fortunately, they're both still around. They got to come to my wedding as well, which is brilliant. And, at that moment, I was like, if we get through this, I'm going to make sure I spend more time with them. I'm going to speak to them on the phone when I can't go over. And that's what I've done since then. And, it's been great. So yeah,
Yeah.
completely agree with that.
Mm. Yeah, I think, and that's brilliant that you said that this is what I'm going to do, and you use
Mm.
that opportunity to spend more time with them now and talk to
Yeah,
them more often.
yeah, exactly. So who would you say is your recommended audience for this book?
Well, I was thinking about this because I knew you were going to ask this one, and I was about to say all lawyers. And yes, it's written for lawyers and it's written for members of the legal profession. That's who it's for. And actually, I know you've read parts of it. It's the whole book is about the legal profession. You could take snippets out of it if you're not a lawyer, but you're probably going to get pretty bored by listening to all the references to the legal profession. So it is for lawyers, and I'm not afraid to say that. And I suppose in a lot of respects, it's not for all lawyers. It's only for those who want to change something.
Yeah,
If you absolutely love your career and every single thing about it, you love your life, you don't want to change a thing, then don't read the book.
mm, yeah, yeah,
It's not for you.
yeah,
But if anything that if if someone feels that, do you know what, I've worked really damn hard to get where I am and I'm not jumping for joy every day. I
mm,
remember thinking, where's the unicorns and rainbows here?
yeah,
Like, I've worked so hard for so long. Where's the unicorns and rainbows? Where's the happiness?
mm.
And if people ever feel like that, they should read the book.
Okay, interesting. What I found interesting is obviously you said it's for all lawyers, but then not the people that don't want to change anything. But as we both know, there is a massive issue with certainly mental health in the profession. And I think there are probably people out there, you probably know people in the profession who maybe they're not doing so great, but they still put on this facade saying, no, I'm fine. I don't need any coaching. This is just the way it is. What would you say to them? Would you recommend the book to them?
I would. And in fact, I talk about one of them near the beginning of the book, a wonderful partner that I've worked with for 10 years. Very, very senior guy, been the head of lots of large firm departments in the past and things. And I remember having a conversation with him when I just started the business and said, oh, yeah, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do talks for lawyers about stress and try and help them reduce stress and things. And I remember him saying to me, but stress is just part of the job. It's just
Mm,
something we all have to accept. And I thought, well, I know I'm going to come across views that disagree with mine. Not everybody's going to agree with me. That's fine. It's good that right out the gate, I get used to the fact that people are going to disagree with me. But then he spent more than an hour telling me his life history of his career and all the times he'd had huge stress and sometimes actually left jobs or pivoted, left these, high powered, high pressure department head roles to go and do something else because of the stress.
yeah.
And I thought, actually, you've just proved my case, that there is a problem here. There is something, and it's interesting. I really like your question because, in a lot of ways, I wrote this book for one person. And
Mhm.
in fact, I started my business for one person, and it's a really close friend of mine who is a lawyer and who in many ways fits that description that you've just said,
Mm.
is fantastic at their job, does a brilliant job in every way, ticks the boxes, has always been like that, has been like, one of them superstar ones from
Yeah,
early in their career, the
yeah,
one that firms fight over and they could command any salary they want because everyone fights over them.
yeah.
But they're not all that happy.
Mm.
But they accept it and they carry on. And every so often they think, can I actually do this anymore? Okay, I'll limp through another year or another two, and maybe I'll change firms and see if it's any different. Um, and that's the person that I did all of this for, because
Mm,
you can't carry on like that forever. You
yeah.
can't, you'll break. And what sort of life is it? I mean,
Mm,
if you're so clever and you've worked so hard, did you really work so hard for a mediocre life?
yes, exactly.
One where I'm not saying every day is fantastic at all, but more good days than bad is
Yeah.
what you want when you've worked really, really hard. Um, and I have had this person read the book, and I didn't know if they would or
Mm.
not. I really didn't. It's only because they're a friend that I could ask them as a favour. I did this on purpose. I'm a bit sneaky like this. I said, as a favour to me, would you read the book for me and
Yeah.
tell me if I need to change anything or you don't like anything? And they loved it. I was really nervous
Mm,
about what they'd say, and they
yeah.
loved it. And they said, actually, I've already put into practice some of what you talked about, and it's made a difference.
Oh,
So
okay.
in some ways, and I know you'll hear a lot of people say this, but if I can help one person, then it was worth it. And
Yeah.
if that one person changes something that makes life easier, then fantastic.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I was actually going to ask, how is that person doing now? But you just answered my question.
Yeah, yeah, that was last week. They said, actually, I read the book and I put something into practice that week, and it definitely made a difference.
That's brilliant. Yeah. So everyone should definitely read the book.
They should. They should definitely read the book. And I made it as short and sweet as possible,
Yeah.
filled with good stuff, but in as short and easy read as possible.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously, I'm a junior lawyer myself and on the Surrey JLD committee. How does the book help junior lawyers?
Oh, hugely, I think. I mean, I did write it to hopefully appeal to all different generations of lawyers, if you like. But for junior lawyers, I think it's more of a roadmap for the future. There's certainly
Mm,
bits in there that you can implement straight away, but it's more of it will encourage you to have a plan for your career in a way that I never did. I never
mm,
stopped and thought what I wanted until I was about 35. Whereas if you read this book younger, you'll have more of a plan and you'll know more about where you're going and what you want out of it sooner,
mm.
as well as there's lots of tools for protecting your mental health and all that sort of thing as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, something that you say at the beginning of the book is that we're not taught these skills when it comes to becoming a lawyer. You're taught the academic stuff, the practical skills, but not those soft skills that you need, and certainly not about looking after your well-being. So I think it's so important that junior lawyers do, look to a book like yours or your website, and just they're able to actually plan their life out and know what they need to do rather than just sort of being exposed to this mad world of the legal profession.
Yes, yeah, and I know it's something I said on a webinar earlier today, but I really do believe it is. There's a lot out there about mental health
Mm,
and well-being for the legal profession, and I've been part of it for years and support it all. But where I'd like to start the conversation going differently now is not approaching it from a we've got a problem and we need
mm,
to solve the problem and we need to help people with this problem. It's like, do you know what? This is an opportunity, because learning skills to keep yourself on track and, not chronic stress, not panic attacks, not burnout, all those sorts of things. It actually, when you've got these tools in place, you will fly. This is about like performance on steroids. It's not just about not breaking,
yeah.
it's about being really brilliant at what
Mm,
you do. And I suppose that's where I'd like the conversation to go. And hopefully the book will be part of that. It's a performance book. It's
yeah,
about improving performance.
yeah,
So
yeah,
it's not just about not falling apart. It's about being the very best.
yeah. I completely agree. And actually, to anyone watching this video, since I've met you and some of the stuff I picked up from you, it's made such a difference to my life and to how I am as a lawyer. So there you go. That's my own personal review.
Well, I'm very, very pleased. Thank you.
So obviously we've recommended the book. We've told everyone to buy it. When is the book due out?
The 21st of May, the book is due out.
So less
Yeah.
than a month, not long.
No, not long at all. We can put a link somewhere if you
Yeah.
want to for people. There is a join early, find out when it's released list if anybody wants to join that, or if they're listening to this after the 21st of May, then Amazon will be your best friend.
I was going to ask, where can you get it from? So there you go.
Yeah, Amazon. I'm told it will be on Kindle as well. There will be an audiobook, not straight away because I need to
Mm.
record it, but I will be doing an audiobook as soon as I can, because I personally love audiobooks, and I think
Mm.
then there's no excuse for people not to catch it while they're
Yeah.
driving or running or whatever it is. But yeah, it will be on Amazon and Kindle
Okay,
on the 21st.
brilliant. I look forward to it.
Oh,
So
you'll get a copy. I'll send you a copy, don't worry.
that's fine.
Yeah, I'll sign it.
Appreciate it. So my final question before I let you go, which is not specifically about the book, although the book probably does cover it. It's something that I ask everyone that I interview. What is your top tip for looking after your mental health and well-being?
Oh, top tip when there's so many.
Yeah.
I mean, for years, my top tip has been learn to meditate. Like, really,
Mm.
just do meditation. And there's so many different ways to do that. And it's really, really simple. It doesn't have to be difficult. Meditation, can be, as we said earlier in the interview, complete game changer. Changes the way you think, changes the structure of your brain. That's what
Yeah.
it does. Scientifically, it changes your brain. So that's always a top tip. But I suppose, do you know what? Following on from what we were just talking about, my other top tip is actually don't see this as something you need to do to stop yourself from failing or to stop yourself
Mm.
from feeling bad. Look after yourself because it's a really great thing to do.
Yeah.
Just like when somebody says to us, "Oh, I'm training for a 10K or I'm training for a marathon, so I'm eating better and I'm sleeping
Mm.
better," and you're like, "Oh, wow, that's brilliant. Why don't we start saying that about mental health? Like, do you know what? I'm drinking a bit less and having some less caffeine and going to bed early and doing a bit of meditation for my mental health." We should be like, "That's brilliant. That's really good. That's what you're going to achieve some great stuff with that."
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
change the mindset around to like we're training for a marathon.
Yeah. I like that. So basically being a lawyer is like training for a marathon. That's my new favorite quote.
Slow and steady wins the race.
Well, thank you very much, Hannah. As usual, this has been very insightful. And I hope everyone enjoys the video. Thank you everyone for watching and see you all soon.
Thank you.